I'm going to briefly introduce myself because I don't recognize everybody from last night. This is a 20-minute speed presentation, so I'll do my best to highlight what I think are the usual biggest questions. But you know, egg donation and surrogacy involves so many multiple moving parts that it would be impossible for us to go into the details of them. Although tomorrow there's a medical panel at some point in the day where we have 90 minutes, I believe, to really get into specifics of what drives a lot of the general things I'll mention today. So I want to explain a few things, and then we can maybe come up with one more topic that people might be interested in. I'll do my best to cover everything. What you should look for when you're choosing which path to go. It's very, you have so many choices. It's great. You have control and you have choices over a lot of things that 15 or 20 years ago you didn't have control over. But with that comes the need to be informed and to understand what you're choosing between. So how would you choose one country? How would you choose one clinic within one country? How might you differentiate one caregiver from another caregiver within one clinic? I'll try to say what I think about that. Success rates and medical technology and the effectiveness of the outcomes, I think, has got to be a differentiator. Cost is a huge differentiator, so we want to look at how programs would, reach out to that issue. And the safety and the ethical aspects of the care that's given, I think, are equally important. I don't even know which one to talk about first. So because I'm a doctor, I'll talk about the technology first. I have a clinic, a medical fertility clinic in the United States that is a little more than 20 years old, that's been doing IVF for that long, that I'm the medical director of. And actually, I'm actually the only doctor. Hi. So I have a large team of embryologists and geneticists and just great people, but as the only doctor, I'm the one that does all the procedures. So I'm the doctor. The success rates in our clinic I'm proud of because it brings to you the ability to be very, very specific about achieving your goal. When you put in 2 embryos in our clinic, based on all of the ways we do all the different things we do, which I guess we'll talk more about tomorrow if you're interested. The success rate is 78%. We do hundreds of cycles a year, so it's very reproducible year after year. That's the likelihood in one try that you would become pregnant if you put in 2 embryos, whether they're from one man or one of each of you, it doesn't change. But if you put in 2 embryos, you probably are going to get pregnant. You'll have a 78% chance of getting pregnant. You'll have a 60% chance of that being twins. So if you don't want twins or you don't prefer twins, then your option is really limited to putting in 1 embryo, and it's a very reasonable option because it still works, not at 78%, it's more like 60%. It's 55 to 60% is the likelihood of 1 embryo putting in it and taking. So I think that really, if I were to meet with any of you, which I'm happy to do, one of the very first things that I would try very hard to understand is what are you trying to accomplish as specifically as you can. How many children do you want? It's not just we want to have a baby, we want to start a family. Great. It's also we think we want twins, or we'd like to have a baby and we'd like to have another baby. You might tell me you want 3 children. You might tell me whatever. It's great to be as specific because the choices that you make, even before you sign up with a clinic or an agency, I think should be gearing toward making sure that the choice of a donor, the choice of a surrogate, even the choice of a doctor and a lawyer are going to maximize your chances of achieving that specific goal. So to the cost issue, we have lots of very increasingly affordable. We reduced all of our fees in my center to be sensitive to competition by around 20% this year, but we've also carved out, they're all in here, and you can take this stuff. You can purchase, if you say I'm one guy, or I'm one guy in a couple, but I'm one biological father, I want 1 baby, 1 time. You don't need 20, you don't need the program that gets all the eggs. Our average number of eggs from an egg donor is around 18. Do you need 18 eggs to have a baby? No. Do you need 50? No. Do you need 5 or 10? You might, if you're 2 dads sharing with each other, probably don't want to share 5. You might want to say 10 or 50, but you can go stepwise up and do it your way. Do it in a way that, with our statistics, maximizes the likelihood it's going to work, but doesn't end you up with all these extra embryos that you really don't need, but you ultimately paid for the production of. So sharing eggs that are fresh, or accessing frozen eggs from our frozen egg bank, which is something else we offer that has the same success rate as the fresh eggs. 50 babies in the last couple of years. There's nothing experimental about it in our clinic, because we've been doing it for a long time. Is another very affordable and cost-saving way. You pick exactly what you think you're going to need. At the other end of the spectrum are the unlimited plans that save people probably a lot of emotional wear and tear, and certainly some money if you got to the point of if you weren't in that 78%, because it depends how you look at it. You can say, well, I'll be in that. Why would I assume I wouldn't? But you have to assume you might not be. And so we have an unlimited plan where you just, as they mentioned, I think in this group, but it's already starting to blend together. We just do your cycle, and if it doesn't work, we do another one, and you keep doing your frozen ones or even another fresh one if you need it to have a baby with no charge. So those are not the inexpensive plans, but they're the plans that appeal to the fact that, everybody. I meet people all the time that thought they were saving money going down one road, and then 5 cycles unsuccessfully later, when they add up all they think, man, if I had just, who knows? If you have a crystal ball, you should use it. But the unlimited plans, I think, appeal to the fact that there's a number, and it's just not going to change. And if you are in the 1% of people that needs 3 or 4 tries, because that's the number in my clinic that actually get to that without a baby. It matters. It sucks, but it's not going to cost you money. It's going to be something that we stand by you. So that's a relevant cost issue. I really think the ethical issues to me are at my point in my career, because everything's important, but I think that's the area that I focused more on than I ever have before, and probably much more than most people. And it's about creating processes within this, because I'm not going to worry about you getting pregnant, because you're going to worry, but you're going to all get pregnant. So what I could really try to do is create processes that bring together in the most affirmative, respectful ways, and form relationships that you make with your carrier and your carrier's family and your family, and really continually focus on making decisions that are not ultimately just in your best. We want twins, put in 5 embryos, and if they all take, we'll reduce them. We don't do stuff like you say, no, there's a woman, there's a surrogate here, and there's a lot of people that are in this equation that you need to meet. We don't require, but 95% of our egg donors, you meet. Of course you meet your surrogate. But our donors, same. We're, I think, a little unique. Most donations in the U.S. are still anonymous, but 95% of mine are not. So I'm probably like almost the entire rest of the 5%. But you should be Skyping with her before you choose her. You should be meeting her. You should be in touch with her, in my opinion. So if you don't agree, that's fine. But that is your choice. But I think that our donors find it much more affirmative and much more rewarding, and ultimately much more meaningful personally to be donating to people whom they understand to be people and have faces and that are in their lives. They're not interested in stalking you and being your friend. They certainly don't want the baby. They're not. It isn't any of that. It's just the part of their motivation is altruism, believe it or not. Money is obviously a bigger part of it for most people, but we're trying to create relationships that will last far beyond you coming back to Israel with your babies or your baby and calling it a day. And I think that that's something that we excel in. I think the safety aspect is the last thing. There's the technology and all of the, we're really good and you're going to get pregnant. Great. But if you can't communicate with us and we don't treat you well and we disrespect your surrogate and we take risks that we don't need to take, I'm not sure we're the right center for you. So I think these are all about, so technology, costs, safety, and ethics. So safety, there's a lot of choices that we have to navigate together that maximize all those other things, but also minimize risk. And multiple pregnancy is a big risk of IVF. So yes, you want twins, that's great, and I would never discourage anyone from having twins. But there's risks involved with that, and there's ways to reduce those risks by the choice of the surrogate from the beginning. There's issues with insurance that I'm not the attorney, because I do in my clinic I will do everything except the legal aspects of matching you to your surrogate and all your contract stuff and all of the administrative insurance kind of stuff with the surrogate and the babies and all that. But those are huge issues that your surrogacy agency, that's why you need an agency. Like Steve Snyder or Victoria Ferrari, if you're working in the United States, those are the people that partner with me and navigate all that. But twins is totally doable. I mean, everything is totally doable. And there's very safe and effective strategies to accomplish whatever your goals are, but you have to know what the risks are and how to navigate. So say you have these beautiful twins, they're born 4 weeks early, which is great, that's normal. They're not 9 pounds, they're 6 pounds, they're a little smaller, but they're fine. But they're a little premature, so they spend 2 weeks in the nursery, in the hospital where they were born in the United States, and fine, you get to visit them and all that. But there's a bill associated with that, and it's not a small bill. So that's one of the, you would say when you say, we want twins. All right, well, great, but let's make sure that the surrogate that's carrying your twins is specifically in legally and geographically able to use her insurance to, in some states, the babies, even though they're your babies, legally they can be the legal children of the surrogate for 30 days before that expires, and then they legally become yours, which isn't great when you think, because they're your babies, but it's great if they're twins, and it's like, wow, okay, so they're her babies, so she's American, so you get to use her insurance. That's something that you just want to make sure you don't sign up with an agency that doesn't do it. Some agencies will say, you know what, I don't want to do that, it's a gray zone, just you guys can pay. Other agencies are very sensitive to that, and so that's just, so it's almost like why you start at the end and you work your way backward, and don't engage with, don't sign or commit or choose anything, I think, too major until you're quite sure that, especially, I mean, in my opinion, it should be the doctor kind of guiding this, not the social worker or the other people. But you don't want to make decisions and say, oh, I didn't realize by choosing that donor I wasn't going to get 20 eggs, or by choosing that surrogate now my twins are now going to probably be born a little earlier, or oh, she could have had better insurance if I. And those are things that I think the hardest part about being in your situation, which I've been in, but now I'm no more, is you just don't want to be like learning things like, oh, thanks for telling me that. You told me that last month. And that's the way I think everybody feels, like there's all this smoke and mirrors, and there is for some. So that's the way some people operate. That if you focus on, we want to end up here with healthy whatever, 1 baby, 2 baby, whatever. Tell me every single thing a month before, 3 months before, 6, because the journey is like you sign with me. You could have a donor tomorrow, but that's not going to get you anywhere because you need a surrogate. It takes most agencies 4 to 6 months to match you to a surrogate. So the rate limiting step, the part that defines, well, okay, we want to do this. What do we have to do next? You pick your agency, your surrogacy agency, almost because that's like, that gets you on the list. Now you sit there and you wait for your match, but at least you're on the list. And whether you choose a donor this month or next month or the next month or the next, it doesn't matter because they're going to end up waiting anyway. So find, if you're HIV positive, did someone ask me that in this group or last group? No? Okay. If you're HIV positive, there's things that you have to do to prepare, wash the sperm and freeze it and quarantine it. That you want to do stuff like that sooner than later. If you're going to do genetic testing on the embryos to determine if they have some kind of genetic disorder, or some people do it for gender selection. They feel like they want to put in a boy and a girl, or 2 boys, some gender preference. There's preparations for that. So it's again back to the theme of trying to step back at the beginning and chart it out so you know what all the different things are and when each one of them gets interjected, so you're not all ready to go and then you're like, oh wait, we forgot to do something else. I'm here this week building a network in Tel-Aviv with a lot of, I have like 60 or 70 babies that I've had the pleasure of helping create. A lot of those dads and people that have been a part of that are interested with me in making a team of resources for new people starting out, so that any of you will be able to use a lot of local resources, get all your blood work, get your sperm tested, get things frozen. The goal is that you don't have to come to the United States probably once, and that you don't need to come for very long, because traditionally the part that you never really understood until it was too late, it was like, oh, I have to come how many times, and I have to stay 10 days, and it's just not, unless you want to, there's no real reason to. So I have enough interest, I think, in Israel that it very much justifies having we'll have the psychologist here, we'll have a journey coordinator, we'll have someone that can schedule it, you'll have a local number, you'll have and it'll be, I think it'll be really good. This is the first country I'm doing it in. I think it makes, and they'll kind of coordinate with us. I mean, you can too, we'll Skype all the time, but there won't be this sense that I live 5,000 miles away from my doctor, and every time I need to do something, I have to remember what time it is and all that stuff. So we'll have some local reps and some representation, which I think is going to be really good. It's going to drive the cost down too. It's good.